Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Banner 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Pekka, J. King.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Shut your ass up, man.
Daddy's always halfway there.
I almost completely forgot that my mic was over there, but it's here. I'm Sam Jam Packer. This is still Poddable. Oh my, that would have been embarrassing. Probably didn't even need to bring it up. This is the Poddable postgame show. I'm Sam Jam Packer. Like I said, this is Sean Gautier, super producer, actor, model slash actor.
I have modeled. I do hate it, but I have done it.
Ooh, casual I have modeled from producer Sean. This is the Poddable postgame show. We are still Poddable Monday through Friday, Boston Celtics podcast. We are on patreon.com/stillpoddable. It's me. It's Jay King from The Athletic. It's Brian B. Rob. And it's me and Sean on nights like tonight. We come to you live after the Celtics game and ho-hum, just another Celtics win. They've won 9 in a row. They just won a 6-game road trip. That never happens in the NBA. They just went 14-1 in March. No one seems to be like outside of the Celtics bubble, outside of Celtics fans, seems to be that excited about the Celtics absolutely dominating basketball for the past month. But tonight they just completed a 6-game road trip where they were on the West Coast. An absolute, just like not something that happens in the NBA, but the Celtics just set their record for most wins on the road this year. They're an absolutely dominant road team. And it was just, they didn't even really play that well. It was an ugly first half, ugly first quarter, actually a pretty dominant second quarter. And then they just kind of cruised to a victory in the second half. This was without Jaylen Brown, without dominant superstar Luke Cornett. It doesn't really matter. They mix and match, and they just cruise to an easy victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. They didn't shoot that well from three, 21 for 62. That's like 33%. They shot 40% from the field, which is not amazing. But it was just a rather easy kind of ho-hum victory for them to finish off what was just an incredibly impressive, but again, I'll say maybe somewhat boring month. Is this what happens when you try to repeat?
I guess. I mean, like, I feel like we talked about the expectations game, right? Like, I feel like this is kind of what everyone was expecting all season. And so now we're here and they're doing it. And you're like, oh, great. Yep. It's that team I knew. They're just winning all the games. That's what they do.
Expectations are really no fun because if they had lost any of these games, people would have been fucking rip shit. But now they're winning them and winning them easy. Like there hasn't been a close game on this road trip. Beat the Jazz, beat the Trailblazers, beat the Kings, beat the Suns, beat the Spurs. Like, and again, not all of these teams are great teams. I would say none of those teams are great teams. I would say no, 3 of the 4 of those teams are not good teams. But they have won. They went 14-1 in March with their one loss coming against the Oklahoma City Thunder, like definitively one of the best teams in the NBA. And they're just absolutely kicking ass, and it doesn't really matter who's in the lineup tonight. It was just a solid performance where teams could take the opportunity to cruise, but they're not cruising. I think Jay King said it really well yesterday. They're just playing solid basketball, generating the right shots. Like, they did not shoot that well from 3 in terms of percentage, but they attempted 62 threes in a game, which is kind of fucking insane.
Yeah, and like you think about like Jason Tatum played almost 40 minutes of this game. Like
after basically tearing his ankle in half 3 days ago, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. This road trip felt like the kind where you were gonna lose, like we said, they're not very good teams, but they're still NBA teams they're playing against. And like this felt like the kind of trip where they were gonna like it was gonna mess up March, and these guys just showed up and played hard, and yeah, had a more than solid March, had a fantastic March.
14-1 is absolutely insane. It's just become kind of clinical at this point, and it's reminded me a bit of last year, but it's not getting, I guess, necessarily the same hype of last year. Where last year they kind of from the jump throughout the entire season were just dominating teams and beating teams by 20 regularly. And I think the thing that was impressive about last year was the very business-like approach to the Celtics. They were not getting too hyped about these wins. They were just going in and handling their business. And they've seemed to return to form after struggling, I think, immediately before the All-Star break with a win one, lose one. They've returned to form with this business-like approach, and they just come in. And like, what more can you ask for them in terms of beating the teams they're expected to beat and doing so comfortable wins for the entire 6-game road trip and just like winning by 10 to 15 each time. And so that's, I feel like, the exact type of thing you want to see heading into the playoffs. And so it just feels like Jason Tatum's in complete control of all the games. Shocked to see he only had 2 assists tonight. Like that, normally he's kind of just a walking threat to be a triple-double, but he had 25 points, 14 boards. The real assist tonight coming from Derek White. He had 10. Drew Holiday, another just good performance. And how good is it to see him just knock down open threes? Because that's just something that not seen, but that was so key to the strength of their performance in the playoffs last year. And he's been huge part of this kind of West Coast trip. I think it's his 6th consecutive game in a row where he's gotten more than double figures. That's just not something that we've seen from Drew Holiday. And it's like when he's your 5th option, it's just huge for the Celtics.
All right, Packard, time for you to wax poetic.
This is the Brighton Hove and Albion 3rd jersey that no longer exists. Up the Albion, go Birds. Tough loss to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Lost in PKs. Took a bunch of guys out, because it was like the 115th minute, and then we had none of our good PK takers. But you know what? We got Villa on Wednesday. Got those bastards from Crystal Palace next Saturday, and we're trying to go to Europe, folks. Go Birds. But let's get back into to this game. I mean, Derek White would never have guessed that Derek White would be the person to set the Celtics record for threes made in a season. And he's got a couple games to go, but he passed Isaiah Thomas tonight, Isaiah Thomas is like glorious 2017 season. And Derek White didn't even shoot that well tonight, 3 of 11, but did knock down a big one late. That was kind of the Grizzlies were trying to make it somewhat of a game. But shout out to Derek White. And this is a record-setting season, in a season where he lost his joy, in a season where he was like the proverbial Stella and he lost his groove, and then he had to go and get his groove back. And so the thing that's frustrating to me right now as a guy who has to podcast after these games, it's like, what have the Celtics done tonight that they haven't done? How is tonight different from every other night? We're treating this like Passover because it's like, oh, Derek White had a bunch of great passes and knocked down some threes and had a clutch game. Jason Tatum kind of controlled the game. He knocked down some threes. Kristaps, I thought, had an amazing second quarter where he really did a good job of getting some offensive positioning. 11 of his 19 points came in that second quarter. I mentioned Drew Holiday. Al Horford was game high. 26 points from Al Horford. He was 6 of 13 from deep. Like, I feel like we've said all these things about the Celtics this year, but it's just they keep winning, and I am enjoying it personally.
Yeah, I'm into it. I was just looking to see how many 3-pointers Pritchard has, just to get a comparison. He's at 237 right now in the season, so he's pretty close to that record too, the 246 number now. But also, just as like a mental comparison, Pritchard last season 147 made threes.
That's wild.
And now he's 237, and his efficiency is up. Like,
that's like a 40% increase in volume. plus an increase in efficiency. That just really shows you like the step that he's taken. Has he fully cemented himself as the sixth man of the year? Or are we still entertaining this Ty Jerome nonsense ballyhoo out of Cleveland?
I feel like he's been sixth man of the year since the end of January. Like, I feel like there's not really that much of a debate there outside of just like needing one on ESPN.
Oh yeah, you got to debate something. Gambling Grant presents an interesting point on Derek White. He shot 36% from three in the month of March, his third lowest this season. Well, how many months are there, Grant? I mean, are we going to October, November, December? And we got 3 months. So I guess there's only 6. So a real median. Oh, Grant coming with the facts.
Oh,
coming off of February, he shot 46%. So yes, it is a down month, but the Celtics again went 14-1. And very impressive. I took a different style of notes tonight. It's normally like tracking every single substitution, but now I just picked out plays that I liked, because I just like felt fully confident in the Celtics were going to win this game and didn't feel like I needed to track, like every single substitution pattern. Also, it's hard to get a read on the rotation when you got Xavier Tillman starting. And
yeah,
I feel bad for Xavier Tillman because he was bad in this game. Like they got down in the first quarter with Xavier Tillman on the court, and then he came back again for his stint in the third quarter, and they immediately kind of gave up a run and allowed the Grizzlies get back in the game. And then he started this game and only ended up playing 8 minutes and was a -6. And that's just tough for X. We'll always have the made 3 in game 3 against Dallas, but I just think he's hurt. Like he just doesn't feel like he's moving the same, and his 3-point shot is just never developed.
Yeah, that unit. I feel like he was out there with Baylor Shireman at the same time, right? That was that kind of rocky few minutes there. I was excited to see Hauser getting a few up and down today. He almost scored a 2-point field goal. I was hoping for you, but he got fouled.
Apparently, we got great photoshops coming of a potential 2-point daddy Photoshop, but he has to make it before Beard Jam is going to release the footage, release the documents. So hopefully that's going to happen. But yeah, again, it was just a solid performance all around. Peyton Pritchard and Hauser didn't do much, but they each knocked down a 3. It was really Al Horford coming off the bench. It's kind of wild that he's still doing it at this age, but it's also not wild because what else is Al Horford going to do other than ball out and be beautiful? That's like pretty much, it's like people in Maryland do 2 things, football and crabs. Isn't that from, what's that shitty movie? It's not shitty at all. I don't know why I called it shitty. Wedding Crashers, that's like a pretty popular comedy that most people enjoy. I feel bad for calling it shitty. I felt shitty that was projecting. I felt bad about myself because I couldn't name the quote. I'm sorry, Wedding Crashers, and I'm sorry to Bradley Cooper playing Sack is the name of the character, if I recall correctly. Like I said, I took a different style of notes tonight. Just plays that kind of stood out to me. And in my vision, when I first started this, my brother, for some reason, when he was a child, went to like a testing center, and they were like trying to test out whether or not like kids liked toys. And so the way my brother tells the story is that a German man would ask him, "Oh, what do you think about this toy? Is it cool or is it nerdy?" And so I'm going to say a play, and I need you to tell me if it was cool or nerdy.
Great.
Jason Tatum had a sidelines out of bounds in the first quarter, but he did not dunk it. It was just a layup.
Nerdy.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to need more accent from you, though, Sean.
Sorry. I couldn't exactly tell what accent you were doing.
It's a bullshit German accent. If you think that's in your acting repertoire, take a breath, get into character. Yeah. Maybe we're from East Hamburg, and we've worked in the city for a couple years, and kind of missing our family back home. Just to give you some background on the character.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
There's a sweet fast break, Drew Holiday, alley-oop to Kristaps Porzingis, had a real presence of mind. Like he could have gone up with himself, but threw it up to KP. What's your take?
Oh, das ist cool.
Cool.
Das ist
Very
cool.
cool. All right. There was another possession where it was just pass, short roll to Horford. He passed it to the corner. Another pass to Peyton Pritchard, lobbed it up to Al Horford, who got fouled. But it was I'm gonna lead in the witness here. It was very cool.
No, it was cool.
At the end of, I think, the first quarter, they had a foul to give Drew or Ja Morant, kind of isoing on Sam Hauser. Baylor Shireman, they had a foul to give, and he just came over and doubled late and gave the and one opportunity, and it was not great. I'm going to say officially that was nerdy. See, and this is where the whole segment kind of falls apart, because then I have some notes that don't fall into this cool nerdy dichotomy. But did you know the Celtics are third in the league in hockey assists? Which makes sense to me just with their ball movement. But it was like nice to, it was not a stat I'm looking up regularly. Not a stat that's often tracked out there. You have to be a real NBA sicko to go into the look up hockey assists. But I thought that was cool and just shows you how well like the Celtics move the ball generally. And so I'll say that was cool. Ja Morant banking a three from the corner. I'm gonna say cool.
Cool.
It's just not
cool.
something that normally happens. You don't normally see a bank from the corner. Here's the Jason Tatum in his fight against Tony Brothers. Kind of cool. Tony Brothers teed him up late. Tony Brothers had some not some great moments on the broadcast, just not calling fouls when Jason Tatum got blatantly fouled. Fumbled his discussion when he was trying to do a review. But here's the real scandal of the evening. I've been making reference to Tony Brothers for a good 10 years now on the internet, calling him Tony Brothers in reference to the R&B group Tony. Did you know that the R&B group Tony is not made up of three guys all named Tony? And that's like one of them is named like Greg or something. Like how fucking scandalous is that?
Wow.
Like it just, I don't know where. Yeah, Dwayne Wiggins is the founding member of Tony. Like it just doesn't make any sense. No one in the group is named Tony. Dwayne Wiggins, Raphael Sadiq, and Timothy Christian Riley.
That I might need to jump off. Like that's terrible news.
Startling stuff. It is not cool. It is very nerdy. Here's a question that I just don't know the answer to. Does Jason Tatum suck at reverse layups? I feel like he's constantly missing reverse layups. Am I wrong here? I was willing to go out on a limb and say possibly be wrong.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's not something I would have tracked, but now that I'm picturing it, yeah.
And then the last thing I got is that Drew Holiday. See, this is what I try to do. This was a junk drawer. I tried to say it was a different segment. I tried to say it was a different idea of notes. This was just a junk drawer, but Drew Holiday had a heat check moment where he hit 2 threes and then did a nonsense turnaround fadeaway jumper that completely airballed. And I said, good for Drew Holiday. That's fantastic stuff.
I've got one play. I didn't take any notes today, but I do have one play. There was that great, horrible play where it was one of those ones where the ball was moving around a bunch, and then it ended with like Hauser in the corner gets the ball, fakes, drives in, passes it out to Pritchard, who passes it back to Hauser, who hits Pritchard in the dunker spot, who then somehow still manages to get like a reverse
yeah, they were
layup.
playing a real give and go there. It was fun.
Yeah, it was ugly, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, it you don't normally see, and that's the wild thing about Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser is like I've been just wishing for Sam Hauser to be this 2-point superstar. But Peyton Pritchard's what, 6 inches shorter than Sam Hauser and just dominates at the rim in a way that Sam Hauser could never think to do it. Shout out to Quapped. Xavier Tillman will not be in this year's 3-point contest or next year's or any, and he might not be on the playoff roster. If they had to like cut down the roster like they do in baseball to like the definitive guys on the playoff roster, say it was 12, I don't think the X-Man is in that top 12.
No.
Tough scenes for him. Did you watch the game on NBC Sports Boston tonight or TNT?
NBC Sports Boston.
Well, so I got YouTube TV situations flaring up, and I didn't realize the game was on TNT, so I had to, blacked out, and so my only option was TNT. But it was a broadcast team I have never heard of. I've heard of the player Brendan Haywood because he was like a solid NBA player, was on the 2011 Mavericks. They just had a play-by-play guy who's never existed in the NBA sphere before time. I want to say his name was Gavrilo Princip, but that was the name of the man who assassinated Franz Ferdinand. So I know it wasn't that, but it was close. And I don't even know if I have a critique of him. He wasn't very fun. He was just a real nothing guy. But why was this game on TNT? How insulting to TNT and the national audience to put, I guess this was like the best game of tonight. They don't really flex games in the NBA, but what is this this like E-level team playing? And then they had Taylor Rooks there too. Like, what an insult to Taylor Rooks to put her with Gavrilo Princip. She doesn't deserve that. She deserves much better.
Yeah. When I saw the like TNT banner thing on the little ad, like the screens courtside, I was like, oh, I didn't even cross my mind this game could be on TNT. I was like, oh, weird that they're advertising a TNT game right now. Interesting.
It was an odd choice and just an odd pairing, but that's all I got. Sean. It's just another ho-hum. Celtics are 14-1 in March. They've won 9 in a row. They've won 6 on a 6-game West Coast road trip. They're gearing up for the playoffs. And the only thing I really care about now is the health of Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown did not play tonight, but he did get a haircut. And I think that's important. He had a lot more hair than I realized, but that was probably because it was in braids and it was really
that'll do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's you're following here. But now he's got a fresh lineup. He's looking cool, and hopefully he gets back into action. He was questionable, I think, heading into this game. I think they're going to be fairly, careful with trying to bring him back. Last game of a 6-game road trip, you don't necessarily need to do it, but I would hope he kind of plays against Miami and can kind of up his minutes restriction and keep playing in games, because I think it was like Jay was saying, it was like 26, 28, and then 30-minute restrictions. So maybe he'll play 32 minutes against the Heat. We'll see. Maybe the Celtics will never lose a game again. Certainly not in the regular season. How many games do they have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games left. The last 2 are against the Hornets. I expect no one to play in the last 2. But they are
Those
now.
last 2 is how Pritchard is going to beat the record for single threes in a season. He's going to have 22 threes across those 2 games.
What's wild is right now the Celtics are 56-19. And we had serious discussions when they were about 35-19. Or 35 in 17 of are they going to hit this 40 wins before 20 losses mark? And they just haven't really lost many games since then. And they're approaching 60 games. And so that's my question to you, Sean. 7 games left. Can they get 4 wins out of those 7 and to have a 60-win season?
Yeah.
I agree. They've won 9 games in a row. There's no reason.
They've won 9 in a row.
They're playing the Heat, garbage. They're playing the Suns, absolutely awful. And Kevin Durant is probably not going to be playing. Marcus Smart returns with the Wizards, actively trying to lose. The only games that I think are interesting are the Knicks, because it's the Knicks and you're playing in MSG. Hopefully they rest everyone. Don't let the Knicks see anything. And then there's the next night on a back-to-back. They play Orlando. I think that game could be interesting because Orlando is one of the teams that we could play in the opening round of the playoffs. I think they're in 8th right now. And so it's kind of a likely matchup at this point. Play no one. Again, don't show anything. Take all the interest away from that game. But I absolutely think there's 4 games in there. And I think the Celtics deserve credit because one of the things they talk about is the hardest thing to do in the NBA is to repeat, and to come back with a repeat season when everyone's like, oh, the disease of more, they're not going to be as motivated. They're not going to be ready to do all these things. To come back and do a turn in a 60-win season when you're playing absolutely dominant basketball to close out the season and peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
It feels like they deserve a lot more credit than they're necessarily getting because, again, like you mentioned, this is the top expectations. They have just been the best team in the league since they were assembled basically 2 summers ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not news that the Celtics are winning a bunch of games. You're like, oh yeah, the defending world champion Celtics that are very good tracks.
It does track, and you know what? It's fun to watch. This wasn't the most high flying, entertaining game. It wasn't wasn't crazy statistics. I guess it was interesting to see the Finnish man coach replacing Taylor Jenkins. Shout out to listener Snorri in chat, our Finnish head coach in many ways. And shout out to all the members of chat. Oh, I forgot this. Hold on, folks. Hold on, folks. I do have one segment for you. The Poddable still. The still Poddable still.
There it is.
Tongue twister. This one comes to us from Local Dingus on Twitter. Go follow Local Dingus. So he's a very talented actor, but he said he wants to go here. Got to take away the overlay here. I don't know when this is from, but apparently Peyton Pritchard did a meet and greet at the Kowloon restaurant, and it came across my screen again tonight. And that's just where I want to be. That's where the Celtics are mentally. Imagine you're driving on the Route 1 North, and you just pull into Kowloon because you just saw Peyton Pritchard meet and greet on January 4th. That's where we are as a fan base, and that's where the Celtics are as a team right now. Everyone's meeting at the Kowloon, and we're all going to have a great time. Sound good to you, Sean?
That sounds great to me.
Sounds great to me. If you guys have enjoyed the show, please go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Sign up Monday through Friday. We have a podcast for you every day. Tune in tomorrow. We'll have Jay King from The Athletic, Brian B. Rob from masslive.com kind of give their thoughts on the road trip and just how the Celtics are preparing to get into the playoffs. We got a podcast for you every single day, Monday through Friday. We have a very lively chat who's reminding me of these nonsense memes going on during the game. So if you want to participate in that, again, patreon.com/stillpoddable. We very much appreciate everyone who subscribes, everyone who's tuning in now, and we'll be back tomorrow with more Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston, still Poddable, still Poddable.